On February 6, 2023, a 7.8 magnitude earthquake struck southern Turkey. In the city of Kahramanmaraş, over 6,000 buildings collapsed in seconds. Marcus was inside one of them. He couldn't move. He couldn't see. He couldn't hear anything except one sound, breathing, right next to his face. Warm breath, a wet nose, and then a paw pressing gently against his chest. Marcus had lived in Kahramanmaraş his entire life. At 38, he was a structural engineer, the kind of man who spent his days calculating how buildings stay standing. He understood load-bearing walls, tension points, the language of concrete and steel. What he couldn't calculate was what would happen on that Tuesday morning. Buddy had been with Marcus for 4 years. He'd found him at a shelter, skinny, nervous, ears flat against his head. Marcus had only gone in to donate food. He left with a dog. Buddy slept at the foot of the bed, waited by the door every evening. Knew Marcus's schedule better than Marcus did. They had the kind of bond that people who don't have dogs don't quite understand. And on the morning of February 6th, that bond would be tested in a way neither of them could have imagined. It began as a sound Marcus had never heard before. Not a rumble, not a shake. A roar like the ground itself was tearing open. The building, a 6-story residential block built in 1987, collapsed in 11 seconds. 11 seconds is nothing. 11 seconds is enough to end everything. When the movement stopped, Marcus was pinned. A concrete beam across his lower back, rubble pressing in on both sides. A small pocket of air, maybe half a meter of space around his head. He couldn't feel his legs. He called out. His voice sounded wrong, flat, absorbed by the debris around him. No echo, no response, just silence and the sound of dust still falling. And then he heard it. A whimper, close, very close. Buddy was alive. He had fallen into the same pocket of space, trapped but uninjured. He pressed himself against Marcus's chest and didn't move. Marcus would later say that the moment he felt Buddy's warmth against him, that was the moment he decided not to give up. Hours passed. Marcus drifted in and out of consciousness. Each time he came back, Buddy was there, licking his face, pressing closer, as if the dog understood exactly what his job was. The temperature dropped. February nights in that region fall below zero. Inside the rubble, with no movement and no insulation, hypothermia was a real threat. Buddy lay across Marcus's chest. A living blanket. A heartbeat pressed against a heartbeat. Marcus talked to him, quietly, in the dark. He told him about the first day at the shelter, about the park they used to run in on Sunday mornings. He made Buddy a promise, if they got out, he'd never spend a Sunday morning anywhere else. Above them, rescue teams from 12 countries had already begun working across the city. But Kahramanmaraş had thousands of collapsed sites, and the night was very long. By hour 19, Marcus had stopped calling out. His throat was raw. His water was gone, a single bottle he'd managed to reach in the first hour. The pain in his back had dulled into something distant and terrifying. He thought about his sister, about his mother, who lived 3 streets away. He thought about whether they had made it out. Buddy had not slept. In 19 hours, the dog had not closed his eyes. Every few minutes, he would lift his head and bark. One bark, sharp and clear, directed upward through the debris. Then he would lie back down against Marcus. One bark, lie down. One bark, lie down. Again and again and again. Marcus didn't know it then, but those barks were being heard. A Turkish rescue team, working their third consecutive shift, had paused to rest near the collapsed block. One of them, a 24-year-old volunteer named Emir, heard something through the rubble. A dog, barking, rhythmic, deliberate, not the sound of an animal in random distress. The sound of an animal trying to say, "Here, here." Emir had grown up with dogs. He knew the difference. He grabbed his team leader's arm and pointed. They began to dig. Marcus heard them before he saw the light. Voices above him, the grind of equipment. And Buddy, suddenly on his feet, barking continuously now, not stopping. It took 2 more hours to reach him safely. The beam across his back had to be stabilized before they could move it. One wrong shift and the entire pocket could collapse. Buddy was brought out first. He reached the surface, blinked in the cold February light, and immediately turned back toward the hole. He would not leave. Even as rescuers gently tried to move him, he sat at the edge of the opening and waited. 4 paws on the ground, eyes on the darkness below, waiting. When Marcus was finally lifted out, 21 hours after the collapse, Buddy pushed past 3 rescue workers to reach him. He pressed his face against Marcus's neck and didn't move. Marcus had 2 fractured vertebrae, severe dehydration, and mild hypothermia. He spent 6 weeks in hospital. Buddy slept outside his room door every night, brought in by Marcus's sister, who had survived 3 streets away. Marcus still lives in Turkey. He is rebuilding slowly the way people do after something like this. He says the hardest part wasn't the pain. It wasn't the darkness or the cold or the fear. The hardest part was the silence, before he heard Buddy's whimper. That single moment when he thought he was completely alone. Emir, the volunteer who heard the barking, visited Marcus in hospital. He brought his own dog. The 2 men didn't share a language, but they sat together for an hour, dogs at their feet, and understood everything that needed to be understood. Buddy still sleeps at the foot of the bed, and on Sunday mornings, without fail, they go to the park. Some survive because they are strong. Others survive because they are not alone. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to Bound to Survive. A new story every week.